So I am going to introduce Tammy Lindberg, who has joined us, and Tammy is our lower adolescent program director. So as soon as she turns on her video and joins us, we will get started on that. There she is.
Hi, I was totally lost in my computer screens and frantically searching for y'all. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Adam, thank you.
Bye, Adam. Thanks so much for orienting our 10 through 12. I'm Tammy Lindberg, the 7 through 9 lower adolescent program director. And, you know, it gets to a point where you can have way too many windows open. So, there, it found it. So trying to share and maybe even present our presentation for the night. Here we go. Oh, it's so hard. Come on, there is Zoom. There we go, and I'm going to share my screen. There we go. So there's a bunch of slides. If you need to grab a snack or something to drink, some handwork maybe, just want to let you know we'll be here for the hour. So yeah, let's get to it. So a land acknowledgement. We're on Dakota and Ojibwe land. It has some very deep and meaningful history, especially here in the Twin Cities area. And what's depicted right there is what we are calling Fort Snelling currently today. Though it is a sacred site, it is also one that has a really hard history. So for more information on that, to educate yourself, if you're wondering, wadotememorymap.org is a really great resource there. So a moment to give due. And so what is the lower adolescence? It is this intense period of transition from elementary to adolescent. And these ninth graders are at the top, the third year they're completing. It's a huge year. They pull it all together. It's amazing, leaps and bounds, and it comes full circle. All those struggles we watched our students or students you felt going through in 7th and 8th grade come together and really cement and feel like it was all worth it during this time. It's a team of 30 faculty members, a team of 200 students, and we are led by our head of school, David Nunez. So I'll turn it over to him for an introduction and a full welcome from us, David. You're mute, sorry.
I know I'm muted. That's what I was saying out loud to no one. Hello, everybody, and welcome so much. Sorry, I was in the middle of typing an answer to a question that came up in the Q&A. So I will get back to that in a moment after I address the whole group here shortly. But my name is David Nunez. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the interim head of school this year. It's getting late at Great River. And I'm excited to welcome you to this new school year. I'd like to start by saying that staff have been working super hard the last days and weeks to do all sorts of planning and prep and adaptation and change based on some changes like the change to key experiences. We can't wait to welcome students back into the building. And we'll be talking more about key experiences shortly, of course, but I am new to the school, as you all know. I just started July 1st, and it's been a really wonderful 2 months so far. I've been meeting all the staff, and it's been great to have all the staff back in the building this last week and a half, and also been meeting some students and students who were here this summer for summer programming and summer camps and things like that. And just getting to know the building generally has been great too. We have a wonderful facility. I'm excited to share also tonight in general, if you haven't been in any of my get to know you meetings, that I'm not just the head of school, but I also will soon be a Great River parent. So my son Leo is joining in the 7th grade this year in lower adolescent. And I just found out a short time ago, maybe about a week ago, that my stepchild, who is joining in the 6th grade, will be joining this year at Great River as well. And they are very excited about it as well. So one thing that I wanted to share tonight, just a minute before I hand the mic back to Tammy, is what our communication plan is for the year. It looks a little different than last year, but also similar in many ways. But I just wanted to share it. And if you're new, certainly any questions you might have, you can reach out about this one too. Great River knows that certainly some of the most equity-focused work that we can do as a community is to ensure that students and caregivers are well informed about what happens at the school. And so the regular communication will follow a couple different channels this year. First of all, we have announcement blogs and an automated daily update email to our announcement blogs. There's an elementary announcement blog, a lower adolescent, and an upper adolescent announcement blog. You can access those blogs on our website, www.greatriverschool.org/announcements. And we'll be regularly updating that page with non-urgent school announcements, upcoming dates, events, activities, volunteer opportunities, things like that. And this year, we will be using an email service to send those announcements from everything that gets posted on the blog out in a daily email announcement. Now, what we're doing, because it's new, is that we have opted all families into these level-specific announcements. And so you will be receiving a daily email digest of these announcements. However, if you don't want to receive these emails, you can unsubscribe using the link at the bottom of the daily update. And you can always check by just looking directly at the blog. So if you'd rather not receive the emails and just check the blog periodically, that's fine too, of course. If you are not receiving those updates, then please email office@greatriverschool.org and let us know, and we'll try to troubleshoot. It's quite possible that if you're not receiving it, we don't have your correct contact information in PowerSchool, and we want to make sure we get that. So let us know. We'll also be sending out direct emails. So this is more in the case of like an urgent communication that you would receive an email directly from me, David Nunez, or maybe Stacy Krieger, or possibly Great River School. And those would, be more of a range of information that we need to get out very urgently, specifically. So that doesn't mean that we won't be doing family newsletters, though. Last year, we offered the newsletters on a range of different schedules, very frequently at the beginning of the year and then slightly less frequently. But this year, we're going back to our monthly newsletter, which is what we have done previous to COVID. And that will come out at the beginning of the month, most likely the first Monday of the month, but depending on some exceptions based on the school calendar. But the newsletters will feature student accomplishments, events at the school, and not necessarily urgent messaging. That would come as an email. So, I mean, these will come as an email as well, but that would come as that individualized email. If you don't receive the family newsletters, just reach out again to office@greatriverschool.org, and we'll make sure your contact information has been updated. And then the last thing we do for communication, of course, is that GRS does maintain a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter account. And then beyond that, we don't maintain or supervise the GRS family Facebook pages, but there are several of them, and they're great resources for connecting with other families. So Great River School Community is an all-level Facebook page. Great River School Elementary Parents, Great River School Lower Adolescent Parents, and Great River School Upper Adolescent Parents are all Facebook pages as well. So if you have any questions about that, drop it in the Q&A, and I will hand the mic back to Tammy.
Thanks, David. Thank you. Certainly a challenging year to jump in. So thanks for jumping into the deep end. So let's see here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So a little bit of Montessori pedagogy for you. And More of this comes in the October information night. So if this is your jam, come back on in October. So we have 4 periods or 4 planes of development in the Montessori pedagogy: infancy, childhood, adolescence, and maturity. Some might argue that it takes more than 24 years to get fully matured, but we'll let Montessori have her day. Right now with these lower adolescent students, most of them are right down here, nearing the bottom and headed back up into the 15 to 8. It's significant in this 3rd plane of development that every time we go sort of down, it's more of a fiery time. It's a little bit harder. There's a huge time for self-construction. And what we're working on during this time is the construction of the social being. So they are getting more and more. Your 9th grader is maybe steeped in issues of the world. And we know there's certainly a lot of things to be concerned about right now. So it's an intense creation of self. The 9th graders are right at the top of that. So really looking back, they're probably not the same person they were in 6th grade anymore, which that's the point. And really figuring out who they are during this time. It's a sensitive period for belonging. They're probably pretty social. I know the students that we work with at 9th grade are very chatty and love to work in groups. And that's a pivotal moment of our curriculum as well. It's a touch point. Focused on themselves and really deepening who they are, but also going out into the world and being more independent and owning who they are, learning who they are, trying on different aspects of them, concern for society. And also at the same time, they need that independence and they need the structure that we as guides and faculty at Great River offer, but also caregivers offer. So that's our job. That's where we are. You'll notice that both the infancy and the adolescent are Black or red in a color picture. It's just an intense time of construction. It's a little bit fiery. Montessori talks about the infancy, obviously they're newborn, but the adolescents are social newborns. So really, again, figuring out who they are in this world. And it's a really good time to be there with them. It is, I've worked in a lot of different grade levels throughout my time of teaching, and I really like this level. It's super fun to watch and be along for the ride. A GRS lexicon. I'm always having trouble with these to get them to come. Advisory. If you remember as an adult, maybe you had homeroom back in the day, and advisory is so much more than that. It is our first sort of meeting of the day, but we focus on all sorts of different things like social emotional learning, belonging, health and wellness, mindfulness, celebrating, fun, getting to know each other, all those pieces. And of course, again, we celebrate the different heritage months, like Hispanic Heritage Month, Black History Month, those things, those celebrations are embedded there too. So advisory is also a main touch point of every student. It is the first place they go in the day. We have a circle check-in. There's a lot going on, and that is specifically something that's coming out of the pandemic. One thing we noticed is that students really need that support, really need that one adult who sees them. So that is your advisor. CAST is creativity, action, and service. It's coming mostly from Montessori pedagogy around what she talked about, creative expression and development of the self in her essay to Erdkinder. But it's also a nod to the IB diploma program that we'll talk just a little bit about with this here today. It's every Wednesday afternoon. ninth graders have the opportunity to lead, also to be led in areas that help them branch out in creative ways, in active ways, and in service to practice giving and receiving gratitude and being a contributing member of their community. So key experiences. We have our, not the Odyssey for you guys, a fall community building. We'll talk about that in just a second. And our bike trip for 7-9. I'm gonna keep willing it into existence this spring. We'll talk about those. We have occupations, which in the 7-8, so you guys are familiar, and coming out of it, it's our science standards through real and relevant work. You guys will be taking classes like biology, but you're also still able to take some of those creative expressions like bike shop that used to be an occupation. And then independent work. So it's that gradual buildup from a guided work cycle, you know, sort of like take out this piece of work and work on this together with your table mate, to it's Wednesday morning, you have 2 hours. How are you going to construct that time? So the beginning of ninth grade, independent work really is helping students construct their day. But then by the end, we want to see students sort of off and running and really meeting their own needs and getting their own plans out there and working with other groups and things. So that comes to each ninth grader as it comes. There's a couple different ways you can get support, a few in fact. If you need support with any of these over here, we have our social worker, Ori, our student wellness and equity coordinator, Asha. Matt is our dean of students. Jim is our LA academic interventionist, and of course me. Your advisor is also a really good person to reach out to if you need to. And so what we know is that we all had a harder year than we typically would have last year. And some of it was harder for others than not. So just a moment of silence for all those struggles and to acknowledge that it was really hard. And Viktor Frankl wrote a book, Man's Sense of Meaning, after surviving the concentration camps. And he really talks in that book about making meaning of all that suffering. So how are we making meaning of that at Great River? It's really changed how we teach and learn, what we teach and learn, and how we look at the world, how we be in the world. And so those conversations have been taking place every day these last 2 weeks with faculty, and will continue to take place when students come into the building. And we're already beginning last year. So just a nod to things are different, and we want to acknowledge those are different, but not dwell too much on them. So our key experiences this year, we are not going on the fall trip to Buttermilk Falls. That was a really hard decision, but we are prioritizing in-person learning, which has a huge impact on how we do school throughout the whole year. So what we are doing is these day trips. The Tuesday, I think it's the 14th through Friday the 17th. So students will find out more information about this, and so will you as caregivers. But looking at how do we build relationships between students, and how do we build relationships between guides and students? How do we practice being back together? How do we practice being out in the world? And really having a few outings. 2 of those outings, we're really trying and hoping for 2 extended day trips for these students. So that's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. If you need to drop your student off, or students, you're coming at 8:30, we'll have space for you. You can do that. And if you need a carpool to or from, our parent engagement group is working on that, and we'll be sending you more information on that. So more information is coming. Our faculty have reminded me how creative they are and how willingness they are to do really, really hard things, and how good they are at their jobs. When Adam and I pitched this idea last week, and everyone was so on board with it. So we're working as fast and as hard as we can to really get things like this arranged and info out to you. So we will do that as soon as we can. And our bike trip, our 120-mile bike trip with about 200 students and 30 faculty members. We go on a 108-mile bike ride, and it's a physical challenge. It's a celebration of being together. It's an intense creation of self-efficacy, which the 10th grader desperately needs going into 10th grade. It's super fun. It's just a great way to end your year, but also your lower adolescent time. So I'm super excited about that. And your schedule of the day. So as you can see, 7-8 is on here too. And so is UA. If you're curious about what the rest of adolescent is doing, we meet an advisory first thing every day for 40 minutes, an hour on Wednesdays. And then you'll go to your first course of the day. We'll talk about some examples of those. Course B, lunch in your classroom. So by advisory, lunches will be silent. Podcasts, if you have a favorite movie, feel free to suggest those. Music, silence, because it is the time where we take our masks off to eat, and we want to make sure that we are being as safe and as cautious as possible. We'll eat lunch outdoors as much as we can as well. And then of course you can talk. But we just want to prioritize that in-person learning. And after that silence, which can be a nice calming effect, you all have recess. So you can go outside, you can chat with your friends, do whatever. So there is time to see the whole community and talk with the whole community. And then we round out the day with your last course. So these are the times where you may share classes with the 7-8. If you're interested in bike shop, that culinary creative expression that we have, robotics, those kinds of things, there's crossover there. So if that's you, that's wonderful. Care of the environment takes place in that last course of the day. So as you may remember, it's everything from sweeping the floors, taking out the recycling, wiping the tables, all those things that lead to executive functioning or like the organizational skills of people. They relate directly to that. It also helps us remember that we're part of a community and we all have a role to play in the community. The school building is open till 4. So if you needed to meet with a guide, you can do so. We ask that if you're staying until 4, you're either meeting with a guide or you're in one of the 2 lobby areas. So there might even be potential to work in the kitchen or to lend time in Big Canoe as well. And graduation requirements. So this is new for 9th graders at Great River School. It's your first time of needing to take a certain amount of classes to graduate. So there are required credits and there are recommended credits. So what we do at school is we are tracking these for you and we're keeping track of them and we're recommending the specific courses you should take. All of you are enrolled in all of these classes your first year. Perhaps you took a different elective and you'll get this next semester or next year for the fine arts. Perhaps you're already enrolled, but we do have a requirement of 11 elective credits. So this is just to sort of key you in to that there's a different level of things. And Teresa, our director of college admissions, will be helping us understand this more as a ninth grade level. And families, I believe Teresa also does an info night or sends information out to help us make sure we're on track and answer any questions that you might have. We usually say participate in key experiences over 4 years. COVID has us in a little bit of a conundrum right now. So this is a bit gray, maybe slightly less black than it is written here. So if you are in that boat, you could reach out and we'll help you there. The health seminar, the students, ninth grade students, you're already going to be enrolled and taking that class this year. And this more really applies to seniors, but there's an experiential learning component after you finished IB exams in your senior year. So IB is a thing at Great River. We are an IB school, and all students engage in the IB program in the 11th and 12th grade. We're very unique in that. There's only 6 IB Montessori schools in the country, and we make it a huge priority to make sure that it's inclusive to Great River students, all students. Because of our collaborative work between the different departments, or like I work with the IB coordinator as the lower adolescent to make sure that we are not tracking classes. The elementary program director makes sure we're not tracking all the way down in elementary school the way some gifted and talented programs are. IB is different in that aspect at Great River. So we have multiple opportunities to enter into IB Math and IB Spanish, 2 of the sort of like gatekeeper classes that IB and gifted and talented programs are notorious for. So we also start CAS in 7th grade, and we're working with students as they grow to really build that CAS program. We're going to learn more about IB in the spring, and it really takes off in your sophomore year. So it is a point to point out that this is the mission of the IB, and it is super similar and relatable to the mission of Great River. So in 2007, when we adopted IB, we chose IB because of the interconnectedness of our 2 missions. So I'll send this slide out, and I'll send the whole thing out, so you'll be able to dive more into this slide if that's up your alley. We practice and use standards-based grading at our school. This is a big change from last year. We are grading for equity with a growth mindset at heart, and we're focused on feedback and learning. So it looks like a unit plan at the beginning of the unit with learning outcomes, so students can remember or know ahead of time what they're doing, wherever they're at in the cycle. We're focused on feedback from guides, from peers, through peer reflections and peer feedback forums, and self-reflection. So always the cycle of feedback on how we grow through the process of the formative work and not just at the end. So yeah, I wrote this great, big, huge paper, and at the end, after my grade is done, I get all the feedback on how to improve. Isn't what we're going for. There's a whole night on standards-based grading in October. So if you want to learn more about this, head there. What you will see is no zeros for missing or incomplete formative work. You will see a 1 in Schoology. So Schoology is going to be the place where you're tracking the daily work, and PowerSchool is going to be the place where you're looking for end of term grades. So Schoology, if you're seeing a lot of 1s, a lot of 2s, that is a case for intervention. And here's what our grading scale looks like. 5 is sort of the target, it's proficient. 1s and 2s are not on track. And we're reaching out to you as guides. And we want students and families to be reaching out to guides as well and have a shared approach to this. This is viewable at this link because these words are kind of small. So you can always come back to this too. And we will explain it to students in depth in the first week of school. COVID safety. So you can click on this link to view our COVID safety plan. But in the end, what we're doing is we're wearing masks on buses and in all classrooms. So the exception is that silent lunch. And we wash our hands. We're distancing, we're disinfecting. If you should have to quarantine, there's a decision tree. It can be a little complicated. So reach out if you need support on figuring out where you land in there. Quarantine learning, should you have to quarantine, we'll be talking with students and sending information out to families and caregivers about how to access that quarantine learning material, how to access guides if you have questions, things like that. We would love as much testing as we can. We'll be doing it at school, but if you feel exposed or you feel like you need to test, please do so on a regular basis, maybe even. We like vaccinations. We can't require them. So David can speak more to that if there's more questions about it. But we encourage vaccinations. Oh, 2 slides on that one even. BIPOC specifically, student support. So that's our Black, Indigenous, people of color. There's a student survey coming out for you. There is a parents advisory board that we'll be sending more information out about. And there's weekly meetings. I think we've landed on Wednesdays during independent work for weekly meetings for our BIPOC group. So there's support times, keys to success. It's getting a little bit late, so if I'm going too fast, someone tell me to slow down. The keys to success. So families and caregivers, students need support. They might think they are grown and they are moving into that phase where we are more consultants instead of directors in telling them what to do and how to do it. But they need our support, love, understanding, empathy, care. This year is hard as 9th years. So let's make sure to keep that in mind and give a lot of grace and forgiveness if either we as the adults melt down or the student sort of melts down. Reach out to your advisor if you have questions about like the school overall or me, and core guides. So those course guides, if you or your caregivers have questions about the specific course. And independent work journal, it's like a planner. We use it often. So families, you can be asking students how they're keeping track of work. They should be doing that. Students will be doing that. Checking PowerSchool and Schoology on a basis that meets your needs. Sometimes that's once a week. Sometimes that's once a month, depending on where your student is and how they are progressing along this gradual release to independence. Work habits and routines. So there's usually follow-up work every night. So developing a habit or a routine and talking about, if you've got soccer 3 nights a week and then choir 2 other nights a week, how are we going to balance all this? So really talking about social times, extracurriculars, and your academic work too. There we go. Practical life. So there are chores to be done in your house, and those are really important. They relate directly to academic skills and success later on in your future life. So those, particularly in ninth grade, those multi-step ones, making dinner, cleaning the whole room, painting the wall, or things like that, that take a lot of planning that you as the student can work with an adult to get through should you need it. Love understanding communication. We'll just like underscore that a couple more times. And I'll send out information via updates. Usually it's a Google Doc that is just running. So bookmark that Google Doc. So if you need to refer to it, you don't have to like search my name or something. And there's info nights periodically throughout the year. So checking those out and honestly reaching out should you need it. Oh, talking to your student about the role of technology. So the lower adolescent is really cell phone free, and making sure that as soon as they enter the building to when they leave, they only use their cell phone under the express permission of a guide. And then we as caregivers aren't emailing or texting our student during the day. We're holding off on that, or in an emergency, contacting the front office. So computers as well, only used in classrooms. So reinforcing that norm and upholding that norm. You'll hear from the school if that's a problem, but really helping reinforce that really important and really hard norm at school. Oh my goodness. How to help. Our parent engagement group will be sending information out. They desperately need your help. So it's for all caregivers to support their students. Heather Thomas and Erin Westenberg, I believe, will be sending you information. There's also, as David mentioned, our lower adolescent Facebook page, which is run by parents, not by the school. So it's a great way to check in and get support from others. Your school supply list is linked right here. And bring a water bottle every day. The water fountains, like the drinking parts, are actually locked for COVID safety. So make sure you bring a water bottle to refill throughout the day as you need. Dress for the weather, because you go outside every day at recess. Bring those supplies the first day of school. You'll have time to find your locker and organize it, and find a grounding space there the first day of school. And if you need support with any of these things, please reach out to us. Miney's making a guest appearance. So we'll send out some more information, but make sure you're bringing these things to school. If you want to meet some of your guides, there's a cute, funny little video that you can click right there, where your guides are introducing you or themselves to you and telling you just one thing about themselves that you can use to strike up a conversation. If you've never met the guides, it might be helpful. Oh my. Yeah. BIPOC Advisory Committee, if you need to, reach out to Anu if you're interested in that. So, okay, questions and answers. Okay. And yeah.
We have some time for that. Everybody, this is Hermione. She's very tired of me working 3 hours from my computer when I get home from work. There are a few questions. Tammy, can students listen to music on their iPhones or iPad, or I guess nobody has iMusic anymore. Can they listen to music on iPhones at lunch?
It depends. It is a gradual release to that. So if the students overall in ninth grade are showing that they can handle that responsibility, that's a good way to graduate into independence. So it is up to our community.
Do ninth years have different advisors than they did in 7th and 8th grade?
They do, yeah. So ninth grade is this really intense transition to high school, but also roots in the adolescent because of where they're at in terms of development. So you're still part of the LA, and your ninth grade advisor knows all about and specializes in ninth grade and transitioning into 10th. You'll get that information hopefully Friday.
Where can our student drop off the community school supplies?
You can drop them off at the front desk. If you know where my desk is, you can drop them off there too. It's in the lower adolescent hallway. You can give them to your advisor, and it will make its way there. Thank you so much for donating those.
Are those a pool supply for 7, 8, 9, or should they label it as ninth grade?
Pool.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure, as we're taking them at the front desk too. How are you handling homework or lessons during quarantine? Lillian says, I just remember it's hard to catch up after 1 to 2 days, so 14 would be overwhelming.
Yeah, so it's gonna look different. Some of the classes, well, we know we don't want our guides and our students to be trying to navigate the hybridness that was something that was extremely hard for guides that did that last year. So some guides will have a unit that you complete standalone from their curriculum. Some guides will be able to post and you can follow along within the unit. And it really just depends on the course and the class and how well it works. So we've never done quarantine learning before, and we're probably not going to be perfect at it in the beginning. And yet, we're not going to be perfect at it yet. So you will probably see us as a whole community get better at it throughout the year. So we will be sure to educate students and families about this. And each guide will have posted on their Schoology page how they will run it for their class.
Can you please summarize what we use Schoology for versus PowerSchool? Tammy, I could take this, or you can if you want.
How about I do it and then you check?
Okay.
So Schoology is the day-to-day where we post assignments, where there's unit plans, past work, current work, rubrics, all the things you need to do school. And you can submit assignments on there sometimes, and you can get feedback. You will get your grades on Schoology throughout the quarter or the semester, mostly for ninth grade. The day-to-day, maybe not day-to-day, but week-to-week grades will be updated there. Schoology is where your end of term grades go. Oh, thank you. PowerSchool is where your end of term grades will go, and your comments about the skills of effective learning, which are sort of like the underlying skills that contribute to academic learning. Things like, are you organized? Are you curious about learning? Stacy, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I would say you don't expect to see grading information in PowerSchool until after the end of the semester. And usually guides have a week or 2 of time before they have to have it in there. But you should have a good idea of what your grade is going to be. At least you'll know what your 1 to 7 grade is and how that should translate to the A through F scale. And also PowerSchool is still where we're tracking attendance. And so if you were wondering how many days your student has missed overall, like you could find that in PowerSchool. And you can set up notifications in there for extra attendance things. And so that's another place in PowerSchool. So if you have questions, let us know. We can help you. There's some videos, but we really will be using PowerSchool much less on a day-to-day basis. That's kind of where registration happens. And if you want to update your contact information, the phone numbers that we have for you, or if you don't want to get robocalls from us, or you don't want to get phone calls like on the automatic way, you can go in and change that information in there as well. Mine is so tired of this. Okay, what sort of spacing is being used within classrooms and halls for distancing?
Yeah, as much as we can, right? So sometimes that looks like 3, sometimes that's more feet. We've changed a few of our rooms to make sure that students can spread out more. So yeah, we are doing our very best, given that we are a small school.
If we have multiple kids at GRS, can we combine their community school supplies, or is it best to keep them separate by grade level?
Either. The community supplies, either. Whatever's easiest for you. The personal supplies, the student definitely wants those.
Looks like we have 2 emails from students who are new to Great River, or maybe their parents, about how they get their GRS email to receive their schedule, namely. So if you didn't see my answers going through earlier, I intend to send the schedules to student emails by Friday. If it doesn't happen on Friday, it will happen by noon on Saturday. And if you are a new student to Great River, you don't have a Great River email yet, I will send it to your parents for that initial thing. And you will get your email set up by the first day of school. If I'm really on top of it, I will send it to your parents, like the information you need to set up your GRS account when I send the schedule to them. I'll do my best. There's a lot going on in the next 3 days. Why Schoology versus Google Classroom? It's so much more difficult to navigate.
Yeah. There's a lot of clicks in Schoology. It does a lot more in a much more secure manner. We can actually use it to put grades into, where Schoology, we didn't feel comfortable doing that. And it talks a little bit to PowerSchool. And that is a thing where Schoology is going. Schoology has been bought by PowerSchool. So we should see a merge soon.
I'm muted because the dog is growling. A question about Schoology being cleared out for the new year. We still get emails from Schoology from last year. I think that's because the term has not updated. I think on the first day of school, the term in Schoology should update to next year. And then it should stop sending you stuff about last year. If it doesn't, let me know. And this is our first year doing a rollover with Schoology, because last year was our first year using it. And so there might be a setting I need to go in and click if it doesn't just automatically change. So I'm sorry it keeps sending you emails. A student asks, are we allowed to bring computers from home to use during work periods at school if we don't want to use communal computers?
Yep.
How is testing for COVID at GRS going to work? How do students access this valuable resource if they're UA or LA?
I can jump in on that one. So we just found out, it was about a week and a half ago or so, that the testing is going to be supported by the state of Minnesota. MDE, the Commissioner of Education, held a meeting and invited school leaders to come to it to share some information. And then there was a nurse meeting as well for school nurses. There's going to be a couple different types of testing available, including mostly with the goal of screening testing. And I've put a whole bunch of questions into our contact at MDE around we're going to be given some choices, and we're going to be able to offer this testing on a pretty regular schedule. There are some grants that we can put together to help pay for staffing in order to run this testing. There's a lot of moving pieces to it. And so I'm waiting on the answer to a couple specific questions about what we'll be looking at, how often we can test. Right now, MDE is saying they want, if a student is unvaccinated, they are open to screening regularly. And if a student is vaccinated, they're suggesting screening if a student has potentially been exposed. I'm not crazy about that idea personally. I'd like to be able to offer screening to all students. So still working on the process a little bit, but I'm hoping to have more information out to the community about that in a matter of days, hopefully. So certainly by the, sometime during the first week of school, so that we can get it up and running as quick as possible.
Okay. I don't see any additional questions. If you have any other questions, please enter them into the Q&A box. Otherwise, that will conclude our 9th grade back to school night.
Thanks, everyone. We'll hang out for a couple minutes, but thanks for being here. Thanks for taking time out of, I think it's Wednesday, your Wednesday night.
Are the goats coming back? We have more questions.
Oh, well, they're pretty cozy where they are. They've developed a little family out there, so we're going to bring them back. But there are some upper adolescent students who are scheming for their CAS project. So we'll see. We'll bring them back, and we're looking into getting like pullet chickens, adolescent chickens, for the fall. But the goat fence is insecure, so we got to fix that first for the students. But hopefully they'll be back.
A parent asks, how can parents figure out where their child is at with there being so many different places in Schoology? I think that we have some videos from last year from Troy Cherry, who is an expert on that, and he's given us really good detailed videos about how parents can navigate Schoology to get what they need to know. And so we'll reshare those resources again. And I don't know for sure or not, but we may be able to engage with Troy again this year to hold some open houses or open hour type times with parents if you are struggling, if the video isn't enough to help you figure it out. And so that's our hope. So if you need extra help figuring out how to use Schoology, let us know and we'll get you those resources. Someone asks, will these recordings be posted? And the answer to that is yes. This entire night, 3 hours worth of video has been recorded. I'll probably ask our communications coordinator to break it up into the 3 different sections so that you can go directly to the one that you need to watch. We'll put them on YouTube as well. So if you have accessibility and you want issues and you want to have the closed captions along the bottom, you can opt to do that. So yes, they will be posted along with the slides, right, Tammy?
Yep, I'll send those to you probably once we have the videos from the comms director. So you'll have all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Tammy has links within the slides that you can get directly to all the things she was talking about too. Okay.
Yeah. Students, it's good to see your names in the chat. I'm excited to see you on Tuesday.
Yes. Keep an eye out for any last minute communications from us. We'll do our best to try not barrage you with tons of things, but you never know. All right. Oh, how will our students find their first class on Tuesday? Tammy, they're going to advisory first thing, right?
Yes. So if you're new to Great River, I'm hopeful that we can send out a map that says with all the different advisory locations on it. I'll be at the front. You know what I look like. So come find me and I'll help you find the way. And then our social worker, Ori, will also be there. If they are not there, it's because they're taking another student to the advisory or showing them. I also might say like, oh, here's another person there in your advisory, walk together. And try to start building connections right away. So yeah, we'll have name tags, lockers right away. So I'm sure it'll be a mix of excitement and nervousness. So if you're feeling that, you're not alone. There's a lot of us that feel that.
And we have locker assignments already, and I'm hoping to include that in your schedule email. So you'll know what locker to go find as well. Someone asked, is there a policy for how long advisors have to respond to emails?
A good rule of thumb is 48 hours. We never know what is happening in that person's life. So a good rule of thumb, you can always reach out a second time. You can always reach out to me and I can say, oh, I can answer that question, or I can walk up there and go find the advisor and ask them the question. 48 hours, but we never really know what's going on. So if you're feeling frustrated or nervous or it's time bound, just don't hesitate to reach out.
Levi asks, 9th graders are in separate classes, just like with just 9th graders? And the answer to that is for some of your core classes, yes. So you'll have English, biology, geometry, and civics, all with just 9th graders generally. But occasionally you might have an older student join one of those classes. And then for your electives, that could be mixed. You could be with 11th through 12th graders in your elective course. Or you might be assigned to one of the lower adolescent bike shop or robotics or social justice courses, in which you'd be with 7th and 8th graders for those courses. So you could be with just 9th graders, or you could be with a mix of students from 7 through 12, depending on the hour of the day. Okay. And it is 8:31, so I think we have no more questions. So we will close this. Thank you, Tammy and David.
Thanks, Miney.
Yeah, Miney. She's standing here with a ball in her mouth saying, please play with me. I'm so bored.
Let's go.
She's a retriever. I think she's like, let me retrieve something.
I tried to play with her before we started this, but yeah, she's had enough. So, all right. Thank you.
Good night,
Thank you,
everyone.
everybody.